In this video, I am going to share with you a few examples of specific fairies, nature spirit beings who have come through to identify themselves as working with either me or with some clients that I have as a fairy whisperer, as an empathic channel. And this is number 2 in a series of 3 about how to work with fairies. So stay tuned. Hello and welcome to Charmed Life. This channel is all about magic, metaphysics, mysticism, and the unconditional love of the universe. And my name is Tricia Carr. I am your host here. In this channel, we also talk about expanding the consciousness. And that's really what we're doing when we are working with the other realms, whether those are realms of angels, realms of ascended masters, interdimensionals, or fairy and nature spirit realms, which is what we are talking about here. So as we head into this video, I want to invite you to like, subscribe, share, comment, and click the little bell so you get notifications about when I post these videos. And I will be posting a part 3 to this video series. Now, if you missed part 1, you don't have to watch it before watching this one, but you can go ahead and grab it whenever you're done with this one, whatever you prefer. And also want to invite you to find me on Instagram, and that is at Tricia Carr Charm, as well as finding my podcast, Charmed Life with Tricia Carr. Well, let's get right into it. The nature spirits and fairy realm, I'm kind of using nature spirits as a coverall term because I think that really is something everyone can grasp, is very much like the angelic realm, but it is in a different frequency. It's in our inner dimensions. Yet at the same time, it's also mirrored in the higher dimensions. You could just let that simmer. That's a whole different esoteric lesson, but I'm just going to let you, if you're familiar with it, then you're like, got it. And if it's new to you, then you could just let it kind of simmer and sizzle. And then we do have the 4 divisions, and overseeing kind of like the generals or the managers of those 4 divisions, we have a kind of type of entity that we have named. It was actually coined by the Swiss scientist Paracelsus. He's a scientist and philosopher, and he coined the names for them, but they're a collective experience. A lot of people have seen the elemental being who oversees Earth is a gnome. And then we also have in the elemental sphere of water, undine. We have sylphs for air and salamanders for fire. Now, those are the names of the beings, the entities that oversee the 4 divisions of the physical elements. And within that is a whole ecosystem, a whole universe of all kinds of spirits, entities. And we call those fairies, and I call it the Fae. And then you may also hear other words like sprites, elves, pixies, things like that. And then, of course, culturally, there are different cultures, and their paradigms identify different specific names and spirits and characteristics. And so this is more just generalized. And if anything, it's probably more Western because of my ancestry. And so here we are now with this huge ecosystem, society of different kinds of beings. So in the Fae realm, whereas say the gnomes, generally those overseers, they're made of only the element, the spiritual quality of earth. They could be overseeing entities who are hybridized of maybe earth and water, a certain kind of light being or fairy energy who is composed of earth and water. And so then, that particular being would be advised or overseen by both gnome and undine, just hybridized or like having many different cultures, being multicultural, if you will. But this is their purpose, the quality of their energy. And so you can imagine how complex it gets, not only by the different combinations of those energy qualities of earth, air, water, fire, but also then by the jobs that they do. So take water spirits, water fairies, for example. They actually are varied in their purpose, their activity, the way that they work with us by the kinds of water sources in which they specialize. So a fairy who may specialize in rain has a different quality of energy, a different activity, a different way that they create, co-create, and inspire, as does a fairy that works with ocean, and perhaps even like low tide water fairies or high tide water fairies or tsunami fairies. There's all kinds of combinations that are just endless, and you can work with any of them. You can work with them, any of them, creatively and, again, in a hypnotic sense. So I'm going to get to that. But first, I want to just give you a few examples of the different kinds of nature spirits who have stepped forward in my work, again, either with my clients or for my own self. So the first thing I want to say is that the fairies wanted me to assert in this video that the benefit and great purpose that you can gain by working consciously, intentionally, better said, intentionally with the realm of nature spirits is that they help us to live transdimensionally or omnidimensionally, interdimensionally. If you think about that Russian nesting doll, you're actually an omnidimensional energy. Your soul, your being actually has existence on all of these dimensions or densities, from the higher self to the inner self to the depths of the unconscious mind. And you are existing in all of these planes and realms. You have a focus on this third dimension, this material realm, but also the fourth, because the fourth is like this, it's a complex state of feeling and thought. And it's so, we overlap in there as well, which is, here, obviously my thoughts and feelings are right here, and there are different kinds of qualities of energies and beings that are there. But it's really of a realm that we pass through or that we exist adjacent to the fourth dimension. But I digress. Back to the benefit of working with the nature spirits realms is because they help us to feel our existence, which is our birthright, transdimensionally, omnidimensionally. And they say that evidence of that is how we all seem to want to have a purpose. I have a purpose. What's my purpose? What's the purpose of life? What's the purpose of my life? They're saying that is actually because we are seeking the fuller expression of our soul, of our whole energy. Because if it's just to be here and end, then and like just work a regular job or whatever it is, and if it feels purposeless, then it's because it's actually feeling without the fullness of its truth. That's what they're saying. And they can help us with that because they are entities who are existing in the more fluidity of the realms and dimensions. And they also are right at the brink of creation. So they can also help us with manifestation or materialization, because they are the messengers. Even like their very energies bring together the four elements that create material reality. So they wanted us to know why we can benefit from it. So here we go. Here's a few examples. These are just to get the creative mind flowing, or to open up your imaginal senses. Imaginal being the keyword there. Image meaning the realms of psychic or spiritual imagery or hypnotic imagery. So I'm looking at my notes here, that's why my eyes go over here. One of the types of entity, what kinds of types of fae that have stepped forward recently for a client was an energy who defined themselves as fire sprites. That's how I heard it. That's how I interpreted it. And as I recall, it was 3 or 4 for this particular session. And I'm not giving away any of the information of the session, just about these entities who stepped forward. Fire sprites. And their purpose in the way that they work with people, or were working with that particular person, is to give a spark of inspiration and motivation. So it's kind of like and it's a jolt. And it's also like, it's exciting, and it's helps you to just get going, both with your inspired, being filled with spirit, and also feeling like you have some momentum after you get that catalyst to go forward. So fire sprites. And then we have water nymphs. In Greek mythology, water nymphs were called Naiads, spelled Naiad. And this is an example, as I was already mentioning, they can really depend on the type of water source over which they work or that they orient to. And particularly the ones who step forward as an example right now are freshwater nymphs. Freshwater nymphs are alchemists. They define themselves as alchemists and transformers. So if you would like to work with being able to bring in information and make it useful as a creation, or another way that alchemy works for us is if we are working through certain kinds of beliefs, limiting beliefs, shadow, difficulties, anything that is heavy in either our past or in our current life, to be able to alchemize that into a positive forward motion. And so it's again to transform and, in a sense, transcend, but they really show me this motion of moving forward. And the reason this is relevant as freshwater nymphs is because the actual, like dragonflies, when they are, before they're actually flies, they are little insects called nymphs, and they live in water, and they're like an apex predator, and they're carnivorous. And so the nymphs that I'm talking about are actually spiritual beings, but there's no coincidence, no accident why these pre-dragonfly insects, they have that in common, to be able to actually ingest something and then move through the ecosystem with thrust and with power and with creativity and freshness too. Once again, these are freshwater nymphs. So there you go. Water nymphs, just one example of a kind of water nymph. Now we have tree elves. I have one of my guides. He is a tree elf, and honestly, he's a little bit dissatisfied with that term because he thinks it's too limiting. He kind of finds the human language a little bit too limiting and prefers for me to just communicate with him telepathically or energetically and not try to put too much structure around it. Nevertheless, I am a human, and so I do like to put structure around it, and he will sometimes a little impatiently abide it. But the one, he makes me laugh. The one I'm talking about, I actually have given him the name Franklin, and I think that's because of he's so frank. And that's this tree elf energy that steps forward. They're very serious in a way. They're only available, they say, they're so direct, only available when you have surrendered the folly of your ways. And they have a sharp wit. And sometimes that wit will come at you very directly, almost like a wooden spike being, nailed into the soil. And but they aren't subtle, let's say that. And so they may show up very quickly, very directly, and leave you with a package of information that will last you for a while, because it is very hardy with and dense with the wit and the intelligence and directness. So there you go, there's a tree elf for you. Now, by the way, let me just say that I'm not insisting that if you ever communicate with a nature spirit, a fairy of some kind, and you feel that the term tree elf works, that they are definitely only going to be this way. These are just benchmarks for kinds of energy who have come forward. Again, to get our imaginal senses, our psychic senses open to the possibilities. Okay, finally, we have an air pixie. Air pixies help you to see between the realities, the fluidity between the realities. They say they will help for you to make clear what is opaque, to make colorful what is dreary. I don't know, I get chills with that. And a way brighten things up, but to see all of the resources of what is available. And so this really, I think, lends itself to that idea of helping us to live omnidimensionally, letting us live limitlessly, letting the expansion of our consciousness, be truly eternal and complete with the one energy, the one consciousness. Now, there's just a couple of other, actually, no, I think just one to mention, and that is ministering nature spirits. This very open-ended term that I interpreted from this particular kind of entity stepping forward. But they're calling themselves ministering nature spirits. So they're not really identifying to a specific element in any way, because they want to be very open. Like, this is a role that we can call on. They say they help to calm and attune the body, especially the nervous system, for humans, by the way, especially the nervous system. And they say that especially the nervous system, mainly because that is what humans right now kind of need the most, and how they can be most effective and impactful if we allow them to to help us and minister to us at the time when we can allow our nervous system to be soothed, calmed, and actually just attuned, because also sometimes it needs to be stoked into a positive direction too, if it's depressive or something along those lines. Ministering nature spirits, these are helpers, these are healers, and they were available to us. Hi there, I'm really excited to invite you to my brand new subscription portal. It is called Modern Mystic Life Coaching. Extremely high value, extremely affordable, and so very easy. I have partnered with Hey Daily, who is a company who helps me to make it so easy for you. No logins. It is like having a spiritual mentor right in your pocket. I will be delivering to you by your text messenger multimedia content. That means video, audio, and text, and it's easy to keep track of them. And I will be texting you on a semi-daily basis, so it's not too much texting, but at the same time giving you enough content that you can utilize it every day. Inspirations, contemplations, activations, energy updates, all as Spirit moves us. Now it's only $11.11 a month, $11.11, but I have a special coupon for you at $555.55. That coupon code is in the caption, and I want you to go ahead and go to the link in bio to read all about it. I'm excited to co-create with you, create this resonant container, so check it out. Thanks for listening. I love you. Mwah. Okay, that's what I have for you. A few examples there of some different kind of beings that have stepped forward. And let me tell you, it is endless, the kinds of energies that are available in all of the realms, including the fairy realm. So stay tuned for video number 3, where I'm going to be sharing some more information about how you can connect with fairies and work with the realm of fairies and nature spirits, whether you believe in them or not. That's video number 3. So once again, do please like, subscribe, share, comment, click that little bell to get notifications for when I post video number 3 and all of the other videos that I post from this channel. Find me on Instagram at Tricia Carr Charm, and also my podcast, which is Charmed Life with Tricia Carr, where I'm having all kinds of conversations with different, I have a really exciting one coming up soon with someone who works with unicorns and also the Fae realm. So anyway, I'm just a little tease. Want to be sure to you actually find that podcast. Listen to it while you're doing the dishes, cleaning the house, going on a jog or a nature walk, or driving. Those are the ways that we listen to podcasts, isn't it? So at any way, I look forward to connecting with you in the next video. And thanks for tuning in. I love you, whoever you are.